The Marineford arc is one of the best things ever written by Oda, fundamentally shaping One Piece's narrative and dramatically altering the story's trajectory. As there is what is called One Piece before Marineford and One Piece after Marineford, Oda elevated the theme significantly with this arc, presenting events that added greater importance to the story. With the impending massive war, can Oda create a narrative that surpasses the intensity and depth of this iconic arc? The grandeur of Marineford began with the setup for the war. The initial stages involved introducing Ace and his departure from Whitebeard's crew. We saw also the hero's attachment to Ace at Alabasta and the beginning of Ace's fanbase. Subsequently, Blackbeard, the catalyst for the impending turmoil, targeted a troublesome pirate to secure the position of a Shichibukai. Fate led him to Ace instead of Luffy. 6 chapters before the Ace vs. Blackbeard fight, Shanks warned Whitebeard not to let Ace face Teach in a serious battle, emphasizing the danger of Blackbeard. Shanks also predicted that Teach would seize Whitebeard's position. Who could have anticipated that Blackbeard, with his old design, could do all that? Most fans did not take him seriously at the beginning of the One Piece story. Despite Shanks' warning, Whitebeard did not listen to him, and we all know what happened at the end of the Marineford War. Here the events began to gradually progress from the introduction of Aokiji and Kizaru to the separation of the crew, to Luffy learning that his brother would be executed and then heading to Impel Down. Then Buggy and some of the prison's toughest men were freed, and each of them participated in important events in the One Piece world. We were watching that building and structures, and our thoughts were greater about that war between the crew of the most powerful man in the world, and the Marines led by the admirals. Now we come to the final war, as its construction is self-evident, as all circumstances lead to war between the free people of the world and the tyrants who rule the world. The Revolutionary Army was established to overthrow this government, and the hero of the story's goals are consistent with this. In the current chapters of Egghead, Oda began to expose the shame and badness of the world government to the readers. Also, one of the biggest introductions to this war was in Marineford itself, when Whitebeard said that when someone finds One Piece, the world will turn upside down. After reaching the One Piece treasure, the final goal will be to overthrow the world government. So what will happen next, and what other shocking things will be revealed after reaching the treasure? One of the big things that will make a difference between Marineford and the Last War is the combat location. As we know, the Last War will have a very large scope, and will extend to several places in the One Piece world. Oda said that he would draw the biggest war in history. Extending and enlarging the geographical area will be a double-edged sword. In Marineford, the events are linked in such a way that the fall of some soldiers affects the course of the battle, meaning that strategies and counterattacks have a great impact on the battle, such that a particular movement has a large range on the battlefield. We take, for example, how the fighting began in the Marineford War, where the first strategic step was Little Oar's attempt to open the way for the Whitebeard pirates towards the place of Ace's execution, a step whose purpose we did not know until the course of the war progressed. In the beginning, Whitebeard himself thinks what Oars did is suicide. After Oars Jr. defeated some Marine soldiers, Kuma attacked him, Doflamingo cut off his leg, and Moria beat him. Letting the giant lie down with his massive body near the place of Ace's execution, and in the middle of that military barrier that the government will use to dominate the situation. Oars will be the person who will contribute to stopping this strategic plan made by Sengoku. After the accumulation of fighting, and the entry of Luffy and the escapees from Impel Down, and their participation in some skirmishes, the writer reveals that about an hour and a half has passed since the beginning of the battle. And now the Navy has entered the Pacifista. The Navy's strategy was for the pirates to advance to the middle of the place of execution, besieged from all sides, and then the Pacifista would attack them from behind. Then Sengoku ordered his soldiers to withdraw from the ice patch, and not allow the pirates to reach the place from which the military barrier would start. This exact siege and attack from behind, in addition to Akainu's treacherous plan to demonize Whitebeard, Squard, was affected by what Akainu told him. He betrayed his leader in war and stabbed him. Then Whitebeard destroyed the ice that was preventing the ships from taking off, and therefore those who wanted to escape and did not trust him to do so. The strongest man in the world entered the fight, and here the balance of the pirates began to regain its balance. Now the military commander, Sengoku, moves to his next step, which is to operate that military barrier. To complete the siege, the pacifista is behind you, and the military barrier equipped with weapons and military bombs is in front of you. After the incapacity of the pirates and the weakening of their position, Oz appears as we mentioned, and he was the key in front of this barrier, to be the outlet for the pirates' advance to liberate Ace. The pirates stormed the barrier and achieved a significant strategic victory. Otherwise, they would have been besieged in their place. Of course, we know the rest of the big events, up to the death of Ace and Whitebeard. This is what we highlight for you to give the importance of the events of war when it is on a specific area and its impact on the overall movements of the characters as a system, and thus give balanced events. Will Oda succeed in the final war between several different fronts at the same time? In Marineford, the narrative thrived on obstacles, disagreements, betrayals, and more, creating an excellent drama. Ace's death left a profound impact on fans, and Whitebeard's demise, with its legendary ending, remains a memorable event. And Squard's panel showed us the complex side of wars. Because of such circumstances, betrayals and unexpected actions occur. However, Oda's statement that Marineford would seem cute compared to the events of the last saga in which the final war will occur raises anticipation about whether the deaths of Ace and Whitebeard will be cute compared to upcoming events. Considering this is the final journey for One Piece characters, the possibility of more deaths adds a layer of uncertainty, leaving fans eagerly awaiting the conclusion of the last war to discover its impact on the characters. In Marineford, Luffy was at the early stages of his career, and in all his battles, he always needed to develop in front of his opponent. But in the final war, Luffy will become the Pirate King, with a pirate crew and several strong and mature allies. This may be a major positive point for the recent war. We will not see justifications from the writer for the development of the characters, and for the hero being given gifts to acquire a certain technique. Here, Luffy and most of his companions are ready and fighting the strongest members of the world government as real rivals. Of course, we will not judge, as we do not know what kind of power the world government may have in store, but at least the crew, Supernova, and all the pirates will be ready and at their highest levels of power in history. Let us see how the writer will deal with this type of fights. The quality of the characters is also important. In the Marineford War, the fighting was between the Marines and the Whitebeard pirates. The outcome at that time, in terms of shonen, is difficult to predict, as the heroes of the story, the Straw Hats, were not the main party in the battle. Of course, some will tell us that Luffy was present and participated, but his role was like a soldier in an army led by Whitebeard. Consequently, the heroes not participating as a main party gave a kind of anticipation and uncertainty about what the writer would come up with at the end of Marineford. And even with the presence of Luffy, the outcome of the battle depends on the death of Ace or not, and he is a character who does not belong to the crew. As for the last war, we know approximately the main characters that will participate and who will be the leaders: Straw Hats and Luffy. Shunen imposes on us the victory of the story's heroes. But of course, in all cases, the method and the writer's scenario is the most important thing, apart from the identity of the winner. Among the things that will be decisive is the seriousness of the writer. In Marineford Arc, the writer's seriousness has reached its peak. Of course, some will tell us that Buggy was there and clowning around. The answer is simple. Yes, there was comedy, but it was in the appropriate context. Buggy did not do anything and had no role except in terms of media bragging about his escape and propaganda about his leadership of a group of impel-down prisoners. Then, with the movement of a finger, Aokiji stomped on him. Even the writer's dealings with marine soldiers and pirates were wonderful, a mixture of mixed feelings between the fear of some marine soldiers of the horrors of war, including Kobe, until the end of the war and the start of discussions about why we persist in a war where we've achieved our goals but continue to lose other Marines. Of course, Akainu's justice in this area is clear, eradicating any pirate from this world since we have the opportunity, while Kobe did not want other Marines to die for a goal they did not sign up for, risking the well-being of their families. Who's right, in your opinion? Akainu and the policy of killing criminals so that they do not cause harm in the future? Or Kobe, who wants them to be left so that the situation does not worsen even for the Marines? As for the pirates, a panel of squad and suspicion of his leader is enough for us. We come to the final war, with the introduction of the Gear 5, and also Oda's statement after Wano that he will joke more. Frankly, these are factors that will affect the seriousness of the events of the last war, if of course, Oda chose to clown with events that do not require clowning. We have reached the end of the video. Share your insights on these aspects, and what could enhance or maybe diminish the impact of the final war compared to Marineford.